Welcome to this little how-to guide, produced by Karnkai Camera Club, Redruth. In this guide we will look at the basic use of some of the cloning tools available in Photoshop. Let's start by loading Photoshop and looking at how we can use some of the cloning and associated tools to edit an image. From the menu bar select File, Open. Then locate the image, St. Ives. And then click Open. As you can see, it's not an image without some issues. Perhaps the most prominent issue is some vignetting in the corners of the image. Problems like this are sometimes caused by using an incorrect or badly fitted lens hood or filter. There are also some sensor dust spots, most noticeable in the sky. Let's start with the dust spots. We'll zoom in so we can see what we're doing. Some useful shortcuts are Ctrl+ to zoom in, Ctrl- to zoom out, or Ctrl+1 to zoom to 100%, and Ctrl+0 to fit to screen. So let's zoom in a little to see the spot more clearly. Ctrl+, Ctrl+, Ctrl+. That's enough. Hold the spacebar and use the mouse to drag the image around as required. OK. The tool that's probably best for removing dust is the aptly named Spot Healing Brush. By default, most of the clone tools are grouped together on the toolbar. If you right-click on the icon, it will expand to show the other tools below. These include the Spot Healing Brush tool, the Healing Brush tool, the Patch tool, the Content-Aware Move tool, and the Red Eye tool. Choose the Spot Healing Brush. It looks like a sticking plaster with a dotted line around it. This tool works by replacing the area that you paint over, by automatically sampling the surrounding area. You can make the brush bigger or smaller using the square bracket keys. The brush should also not be too hard, otherwise the edge of the healed area may be sharp and obvious. A medium hard brush normally works best. You can change the hardness from the tool options. Or you can use Shift and the square bracket keys. With a suitably sized, medium hard brush, paint over the area that you want to remove. Include a little overlap. Then, just repeat for any other blemishes. Sometimes it may help to brush over the area several times, to achieve a good result. The Spot Healing Brush works best when the surrounding area is relatively simple. On dust spots, blemishes, and telephone wires in the sky, etc., it does a good job. It's not so good on larger objects, or those on complex backgrounds. Closely related to the Spot Healing Brush is the Healing Brush. The Healing Brush works in a similar way to the Spot Healing Brush, but you can select the area that gets copied from, giving you more control. To select the Healing Brush tool, right-click on the icon in the toolbar, then select the Healing Brush tool. The icon looks like a sticking plaster, but without any dotted area. Let's use it to remove the boat on the left of the image. To select the source area, where you will copy from, move the cursor to a suitable source area, In this case I'll choose an area of empty beach. You can adjust the size and hardness of the healing brush tool, using the same methods previously mentioned. Again, a suitable size, medium hard brush, works best. Hold the Alt key and click the mouse to select the source area. You can then move the mouse to the area you want to paint over, in this case the boat, and hold down the mouse key. As you paint, a cross shows where the pixels are being copied from. If at any point you want to change where the pixels are being copied from, you can just move the mouse to another area and hold Alt again to reselect. This gives you a bit more control over the cloning process than is possible with the spot healing brush. The patch tool allows you to fix bigger areas more easily than the healing tools. You can use any preferred method to select the area to be patched first, then choose the patch tool, or you can just select the patch tool, and use it to select the area. I'll choose the latter method. First, right-click on the toolbar and select the patch tool. Then draw around the area to be patched, in this case I'll choose the group of people. As with all these tools, pay attention to any shadows and/or reflections. Then drag the patch to a complementary area which can be copied from. The preview of the area to be fixed can be seen as you move the patch around. Just release the mouse when you're happy with the result. To remove the selection, press Ctrl+D. I'll get the people back by pressing Ctrl+Z to undo the patch, so I can use them in the next part of this guide. Let's look at the Content-Aware Move tool. The Content-Aware Move tool allows you to move a selected area to another part of the image. It will fill the area left behind by sampling the surrounding areas. As with the patch tool, you can use any preferred method to select the area to be moved first, then choose this tool to do the moving, or you can just select this tool, and use it to select the area. Again, I'll choose the latter method. First, select the Content-Aware Move tool by right-clicking on the toolbar. It looks like crossed swords, but I guess it's supposed to be a pair of scissors or shears. Draw around the area to be moved. I'll select the group of people, taking note of any shadows and reflections. Drag the selection to the new position, and then confirm the move by selecting the tick in the tool options or by pressing Enter. To remove the selection, press Ctrl+D. Under another icon on the toolbar is one of the most useful clone tools, the Clone Stamp tool. The Clone Stamp tool works a bit like the Healing Brush tool, but with much more control and a greater range of options. First, select the Clone Stamp tool from the toolbar. It looks like an old-fashioned ink pad stamp. Let's use it to get rid of the small window above the pizza place. I'll zoom into the building so I can see what I'm doing. Select the area you want to copy from by holding down the Alt key. In this case I want to copy from the wall. And paint over the desired area, in this case the window. You can resample at any time using the Alt key again. I won't go into all the other options here, but you can do things like changing the opacity and flow, and even rotate the painted area relative to the source. Let's have a look at another useful tool, Content-Aware Fill. You may have come across this before if you've ever cropped an image or rotated it to straighten the horizon. If the Content-Aware Fill option is selected, then Photoshop will attempt to fill in any blank areas. It simply replaces blank areas by sampling the surrounding areas. You can, however, also use it for cloning purposes. So let's say I wanted to get rid of this group of people using Content-Aware Fill. First I'd need to select the group. I could use any of the selection tools to draw around the area, making sure of course to include any shadows and/or reflections. I'll use the rectangular selection tool for this example. Then from the menu select Edit Fill or press Shift F5. Make sure Content-Aware Fill is selected in the dialog box and Color Adaptation is selected for the best seamless result. Then click OK. It's quick and efficient, but can result in patterns being repeated as here with the darker patch of sand. You could of course retouch this and make it less obvious using one of the other cloning tools. We can use Content-Aware Fill to get rid of the dark corners in this image. I'll select the Polygonal Lasso tool and use it to select the dark top left corner. Then use Content-Aware Fill to clone the area. Ctrl D deselects the area, and the job is done. I could repeat the process for each of the remaining corners in turn, but there is a quicker way. I'll use the Polygonal Lasso tool to select all of the corners at once within the same selection. For good measure I'll also make sure I include the two floating heads at the bottom of the image. With all the areas I want to fix now in the same selection, I'll select, Edit, Fill, and use Content-Aware Fill to do them all at once. Ctrl+D to deselect the area, and the result is very acceptable. OK, time for another image. I'll select File, Open, locate the image of the girl and the bike and load it into Photoshop. Let's get rid of the bramble on the right of the frame. I'll use the Polygonal Lasso tool to select around the bramble. Then use Content-Aware Fill. It works reasonably well. I can, of course, use the Healing Brush, Spot Healing Brush or Clone Stamp tool to re-clone parts of the area, to make the clone more realistic and even less obvious. I'll attempt to remove the piece of paper behind the bike using Content-Aware Fill. First I'll select the Polygonal Lasso tool and use it to select the area around the paper. Then I'll use Edit, Fill, and choose Content-Aware Fill to remove it. The results this time are not as impressive. Photoshop has sampled the area to be used for the fill, and has included some of the bike. At this point I might want to give up with Content-Aware Fill and choose one of the other clone tools. However, there is another way. We can control exactly where Content-Aware samples from. I'll use Ctrl+Z to undo the previous fill and try again, using a slightly different method. I'll select the area around the paper as before, using the polygonal lasso tool. But this time I'll select Edit, Content Aware Fill. You can see that two windows appear on the screen. The window on the right shows me a preview of the result. The window can be scaled using the slider at the bottom, or you can use Ctrl+ and Ctrl- to zoom in and out. The image can be dragged around by holding the spacebar and dragging it. The window on the left shows the working image. You can also zoom in and out of this window and drag it around so you can focus on what you are doing. The green area in the left window shows the area from which Content Aware Fill will select pixels to replace the selection. You'll notice if you move your cursor onto this window, a brush with a minus sign in it appears. You can use this brush to paint out some areas from the source area. If you want to add other areas, or put back some bits you removed, then hold the Alt key. The brush then has a plus sign in it and you can paint the green back in. As you refine the area, the preview window updates so you can see the current result. Assuming you're satisfied with the result, you could press OK to accept, and close the Content Aware windows. However, if you have other areas that you want to deal with, you can click Apply, and then repeat the process with a new selection. I'm going to accept the Content Aware Fill on the paper by clicking Apply. Then I'm going to clone out the rock in the foreground. I'll click Apply. Then I'll move the windows so I can see the rock clearly. I'll choose the lasso tool and use it to select the rock. Then I'll reselect the brush tool and modify the green area until I'm happy with the result. Assuming I'm done, and there are no more areas I want to treat while I'm here, I can now click OK. As you can see, the end result isn't too bad. It can always be refined, of course, using the other cloning tools, but most of the hard work has been done. It's worth noting here how by default, each filled area is created on a new layer, preserving the original image. You can of course flatten the image and create a single layer once you're happy with the result. If you don't want new layers to be created for each fill, then you can specify this in the Content Aware Fill options. The Options panel in the Content Aware Fill window allows you to specify if the fill will create new layers. There are some other options here also, such as the color of the overlay and color adaptation options, which you can specify if you want. That concludes this little guide, produced by Karnkai Camera Club, Redruth. We hope you found it useful. If there are any other topics that you'd like us to cover, then we're open to suggestions, by email or via our Facebook page. Finally, don't forget that Karnkai Camera Club, the friendly camera club, meets every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. In the Karnkai Community Institute, Redruth. New members always welcome.